to record another live message, actually. I was going to say another live reading, but I don't know if I'm going to pull cards. I may just channel what I think and talk a little bit about the astrology. I really wanted to talk about Saturn going into the sign of Pisces, and I wanted to also talk about the North Node change. We have the North Node in the sign of Taurus until July. So to begin, before I get started, I just want to say that if you want to support me and support my channel, you're more than welcome to donate. Any amount of donation is appreciated this time. You could donate through PayPal, Cash App. I also created a campaign through Indiegogo for it's more of like a creative campaign for me personally. If you want to support me personally, you can go on there. I'm going to put the link in one of the comments on this video, and I'm going to try to remember to put it in the description box. But this year I feel like is my growth and expansion year. I want to grow past what I've done before, do things differently, and shift into feeling less limited, feeling like less small. Like I want to grow and expand and create a lot more things and do a lot more things that I've never done. So if you want to support me there, that is also appreciated. If you'd like to get a private reading, I am still offering private readings. You would just check out my website, oracledaphne.com, send a payment for the reading, however much time you want, and then email me to get scheduled. I don't currently have a waiting list. I am still recovering from being not feeling my best, but I am still doing them, so I'm happy to book probably within a day or so. So I want to jump into the astrology. Now, I know many of you watch other astrologers out there, but I kind of wanted to add my 2 cents to what I feel like is going to be happening. And I wanted to look at the cards for Saturn entering Pisces. Now, Saturn enters the sign of Pisces on March 7th, 2023. And it will stay in the sign of Pisces until May 24th of 2025. So we've got some time where it's going to be transiting the sign of Pisces, and we're going to have to kind of deal with that energy. The interesting thing is that, and I was thinking about this, and this is one of the main things that I wanted to share in this video, was that the North Node was in the sign of Cancer and the South Node was in the sign of Capricorn from November of 2018 to May of 2020. Now, this you might not think is that important, okay? But this, as far as I am concerned, is one of the biggest points that I want to make here regarding the astrology over the next couple of years. So what happened in the beginning of 2020? That was the beginning of the pandemic. So just before the North Node moved out of the sign of Cancer, which is all about home, it's all about family, it's all about taking care of your loved ones. And everybody shifted into working from home at that time. Okay. Like my entire company that I was working for shifted to working from home in, I believe it was March of 2020. So I'm bringing this up because I feel like with the North Node in Taurus going in July, okay, it'll be there until July, and then it will move into the sign of Libra. Move into the sign of Aries. The North Node will move into the sign of Aries, and the South Node will be in the sign of Libra. Going forward after that. But what's going to happen with the North Node in Taurus just before it changes signs, okay, is the crucial time. This is like a crucial time between, I would say, just before, like a couple of months before, we're looking at May, June, July. These are going to be crucial months for everything that we think of as, that are Taurus things. Okay. And what is Taurus all about? Taurus is all about money and financial stability and a house and furniture and food. And I mean, like, if I just go with those boxes, we've got a lot to talk about, because as we get into that time period, as we get closer to July, I feel like it's going to be really apparent that things are shifting in those categories. All things to do with food, all things to do with housing, the housing especially. I wanted to talk about housing because it's not apparent. It's not readily apparent to people who have dual incomes and, more than enough money, a full closet full of clothes, 2 cars that are working, brand new 2023 hybrid vehicles, and they're doing great. Okay. This is not apparent to those people, but to people that may be renting or behind in their mortgage, or may have lost, maybe they have a partner, but that partner loses a job, or they're only trying to survive on one income because another parent is trying to take care of more than one child, and the child may have special needs, things like that. All of that stuff is going to become really, really apparent going into July. Okay, going into July when the North Node changes into the sign of Aries. Now, I think I want to do like a whole separate like video on what's going to happen when the North Node changes signs. But just for the sake of looking back, when the North Node changed, just before it changed signs, the beginning of the pandemic started. And it lasted. And there's still these after effects of the North Node. Basically, it's like the North Node has been in Cancer this whole time, even though this, we have had a lot of stuff to do with food shortages, which is all about Taurus, North Node and Taurus. We've had a lot of transformation in a lot of different areas of things within our culture, and many people have have passed. That's, to me, that's all Scorpio, that's all death, that's all South Node stuff. So yes, like Taurus, the North Node in Taurus has been very much, and I will say personally from experience, since the North Node changed in early 2022, my entire year was kind of fighting the North Node in Taurus the entire year. Things moved incredibly slowly. I asked people for help and they didn't. I asked for the leg up and I didn't get it. And I've talked about this in other my videos, and I'm open about this because I think it's important to understand that when you're dealing with such a very strong energy, it can work for you or it can work against you. And I'm not going to say that the world was out to get me in 2022. No. I grew so much as a person, and I will always remember the year of 2022 as being a very critical year for my growth, critical year for my self-worth and self-love. And I really had to get creative in a lot of different ways. And so, but, it's funny. I did mention that there's going to be, in my other apocalypse video that I did recently, that there's going to be clothing shortages. And what is Taurus? Taurus is ruled by Venus. So like everything that's Venus, like the beauty industry, makeup, hair, nails. I've never met a Taurus that didn't have a massive clothes closet. I mean, and the thing about it is that most Taurus know how to penny pinch. So this all of 2022, going into July, there is this element of penny pinching, of this element of you either transform, which is the south node in Scorpio, or you penny pinch, which is the north node in Taurus. And it's very interesting during this time. I lived on basically nothing. And for the clothes that I had to replace, I was actually able to get them at like a super cheap discount. So like I found some Brooks running shoes at Goodwill and I got them with my coupon for $4, which normally they cost like $150. Like you can get them maybe if they're on clearance, for like $100, but it's still a lot of money for those shoes. So I was actually able to get that. So again, there's a lot of influence that the North Node has on everything. The astrology is very strong. And with the North Node in Taurus, you can bet that there's going to be some housing stuff going on with the North Node in Taurus towards the very end of when it's in Taurus. And that housing stuff is going to last several years. It may last. Now, here's the thing about Taurus, is that anything started in this when the moon especially is in Taurus, or the sun is in Taurus, the sign of Taurus, lasts a long time. Taurus is a person that doesn't like change. They may say they like change, but the people that have like a lot of other planets, like a variety of planets, maybe some Gemini, I don't know, maybe they have even some Scorpio, some Sagittarius, people that embrace change, strong other planets in their chart. But a strong sun in Taurus person, they can stay married for like 40 or 50 years. They can buy one house, keep the same car, basically have a very stable status quo life. And they might change little things here and there. They might change their hair and they might change their clothes, but they don't change their whole life. Whereas like the Scorpio, the South Node, Scorpio, is transformative, like transforms a lot. And it's I've met people that have strong Scorpio placement. I have a very strong Scorpio placement where, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of like transformation of the way somebody looks or the way somebody dresses or the way somebody presents themselves in the world. Career changes, where Taurus might go to school to become an electrician, get out, get the job as the electrician, and stay an electrician for a very long period of time. So my point is that with the North Node in Taurus, things that are happening right now, changes that we make right now, are going to last a long time. If there is a housing collapse, it will affect things for a very long time. If there is, an issue with jobs, and, again, all things money. Taurus is all things money, jobs, stability. If things change, it's going to last. It's actually, I hate to say this, but like if there's issues that pertaining to the North Node in Taurus, it's actually going to last much longer than effects of the stuff that has affected us with when the North Node was in the sign of Cancer up until May of 2020. For those of you who maybe not follow what's going on with job changes and things like that, people are still being affected by inflation, by food shortages, by water shortages. All of that is North Node Cancer. Many people still work from home. Many places still require certain things to happen in order for you to work there. So there's still a lot of residual impact from when the North Node was in the sign of Cancer. But I hate to say that I feel like anything that's going to be negatively affected when just before the sign changes. And I do feel there's going to be some things that happen just before the sign changes. Go in the spring, early summer, like I said, May, June, July, specifically around, I feel like specifically when the sun is in Taurus in May. I do also feel there is a Uranus retrograde, and that in the sign of Taurus. And I definitely felt this last Uranus retrograde very strongly. The Uranus retrograde in Taurus starts in August, at the end of August. And the thing about that is that, so we're going to have the North Node change into the sign of Aries, but then we'll also then shortly after have the Uranus retrograding in Taurus. And Uranus retrograde in Taurus is internal rather than external. So, with Taurus stuff, it's like, okay, are you trying to get a job? The Uranus retrograde, are you trying to improve your finances? The Uranus retrograde says, sorry, but we're retrograding right now, so it's going to be a while before we're able to get you a job, or your application was received, but we're going to go with another candidate. So it's all very internal. It's all very detrimental to all things Taurus, which we need. We need financial stability. We need a job. We need housing. We need clothes. So all of that is going to be in play at that time. So I want to lay out some cards. Let's jump back for a second and talk a little bit more about Saturn going into the sign of Pisces on March 7th, because that's going to happen first. Okay, so we're going to have that first coming up here really quickly in March. I want to lay out some cards and see what I get for this energy about Saturn and Pisces. Now, I will say, as I'm laying out these cards here, I will say that anytime a planet that is so all about structure, and Saturn really is about building things, it's about structure. I think of, like the Capricorn, structure. Anytime something like that is happening, and it goes into a water sign. So even like when Mars is in a water sign, things just don't feel right. It feels mucky to me. It feels like when water and earth combine, it makes muck. And I feel like it's the only way to really describe Saturn and Pisces is muck. It feels mucky. It feels like slippery. And like things are going to kind of slip and slide, kind of like a mudslide, but not in a good way. Not in a good way where, you can anticipate things and you can say, okay, we know what's going to happen XYZ down the line. The instability that is residual from when the North Node was in the sign of Cancer, is also going to be very apparent when Saturn enters Pisces, because Pisces has no backbone. Okay, Pisces is it's going in two directions at the same time. It's living and it's dying. It's saying yes when it really wants to say no. Okay, and it says no to things when it really should say yes. It sticks its heels in, like Pisces can stick its heels in when you really need the Pisces to be their usual compassionate, loving self. They'll say no to random stuff that doesn't even make sense. And I consider the sign of Pisces to be out of my reach, in the sense that they are so far beyond my comprehension, like day-to-day understanding, in the sense that they're just, to me, I cannot grasp the Pisces, and I don't think anybody really is meant to, honestly. But I always say that Pisces is just kind of out of my reach. I can analyze all I want, and I'm good at analyzing things. I'm good at communicating, and I can try to communicate all I want with the Pisces, but it just doesn't work. And so I have to say that with this Saturn in Pisces, I do feel like there's going to be some element of this, almost like our minds are going to be a little bit baffled by, and things really might not feel normal. Like, okay, so, and this is funny, I really wanted to do a separate video about this, because I wanted to lay out specific cards for this, but like, I went out yesterday and I was talking to this girl at the store, and I was like, you know, you're not your usual self today. She's like, no. And I'm like, why? And she's like, I don't know. You know, whether she said it was like the winter blues or just feeling tired. But it's like this sense that I had yesterday, very much so, that things weren't quite right. And I mentioned this in one of my other videos, that I didn't even feel like myself. Like the last couple of days, so the last week, I didn't even feel like myself. I felt like we're in the twilight zone. And to me, when people really don't like Mercury retrograde, because it mimics this Piscean energy, and it's mind blowing. It's, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really make much sense, and it feels like things are really wrong or things are really off. So when Pisces is the Saturn is a major planet is in the sign of Pisces, it's going to feel like the twilight zone. It's going to feel a little bit like Mercury retrograde. Like you're gonna try. It's almost like trying to build a foundation in the sand or in a river bed. You know that the water is going to come and wash it away. You can try to nail things down as much as you want, but Pisces, you know, nailing something down when Saturn is in Pisces is going to be like driving a nail into the muck and trying and hoping that it's going to stick. So there's that energy there too that I want to bring up. I'm not a big fan of Mercury retrogrades. I'm not a big fan of like this Twilight Zone energy. And I have to say, I don't remember when I started to feel this way, but like for like this period of time in my life, I started to feel like I was in a kind of twilight where I couldn't quite get to the day. And I was kind of stuck in this perpetual night where it was almost like it's darkest before the dawn. You know, it's darkest before the dawn. And I couldn't quite get to the light. I couldn't quite get the things that I needed to get done, or the things that I wanted, or like I said, this year is all about growth and expansion for me. So it's like I've tried for a long time, for many years, to try to nail things down, to to feel like I'm really stepping into my power, stepping into the light, stepping into things, and that things are brighter, things are better. And so for some people, you know, the energy of the twilight, the energy of that it's darkest before the dawn, or like, and you know, I'm saying this and I'm channeling this, and the first thing that comes to my mind, and I hate to say this, is the mushroom cloud that causes the instant winter. And I really hope that does not happen. And I'm trying very hard to not even put energy into that, because and I did a video about that. So I will link, you know, one of the, this video to that one if you want to watch that. That's, I think, one of my live recordings, so you can look back. And it was when I talked, I think the title was Mushroom Cloud and Water Crisis or something like that. And now that I'm saying the word water crisis, that triggers me to remember what Lada Doncheva said about problems with water. And what I said in my video when I did the water crisis, this was even before Lada did her Saturn entering Pisces video about water, there being a water crisis. And I originally said many years ago, this is like, I don't know, 3 years ago now, that there would be a war over water at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised. This is touching a little bit about when the North Node enters Aries, which is the god of war. With Saturn in Pisces until 2025, I would not be surprised that there was, during that time period, major issues with water, because Pisces is a water sign, Aries is a war sign, and yeah, a lot of like push pull, tug of war kind of energy that I'm picking up from that time period. I do also want to say that I had mentioned this in one of my other videos, that one day, not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, I was going for one of my walks around the university campus where I live. And I was, or maybe I was jogging, I don't know, walking and jogging as kind of my exercise routine. And it came to me when there was going to be problems with this. And I think when the 7 years of not 7 years, yeah, I think it's 7 years of tribulation would start, and my guide said 2025. My guide said that 2025. And then I watched, I think it was one of Joseph Tittle's videos where he talked about how the 7 years of tribulation would be 2025 to 2032. So it can, people watch me and then they don't really understand sometimes what I'm trying to what I'm saying. And it's hard because, there's certain things that will match up, like what I feel or what I've seen or what my guides have said with other psychics. And when that happens, that's when the flag, the red flag in my brain goes off. It goes, okay, my guides aren't just, pulling my leg here. They're really, for real, telling me something that's valuable that I need to know. I don't really want to get too far into those 7 years, that 7-year period of time. I haven't looked at the astrology for that, but I know that, again, with this North Node in Taurus, this year is going to be critical going into that time period. Because it's going to last. And right now we're in 2023. So, things with Taurus can last so long. It could be, where the let's just say housing market collapses, and then we have to deal with it for the next 10 to 20 years. That's a long time to kind of clean things up. When in 2008, when we had the stock market crash in 2008, the issue was people were like, it's going to take like 10 years for things to improve, for things to get better. So if, let's just say, there was issues with the stock market, or all things Taurus, okay, because we have the North Node in Taurus, issues with the stock market, issues with housing, it's going to take a long time for things to get back to what you would call normal. I don't necessarily know with Uranus in Taurus if it ever really will be normal. And this comes back to like something that somebody said. It was a comment that one of you guys made on one of my videos recently. And it made me realize that you guys don't see kind of like how I see it. And I don't really know how to describe like all of my visions and all of the things that I've been shown. And what exactly that's going to look like. I feel like when I'm talking to people, either I'm talking to people that really get what I'm saying, or people that can't visualize it in a way that's really clear to them what's going to happen. So I think one of the comments was like, in some way, I think they had already said that we're already enslaved. So them imagining things being a different kind of enslavement is something that they really, I feel like, is not on their radar. It's not in their imagining. They can't really imagine what it would be like if things got worse or if things changed drastically. And because we're talking about future energies, I want to remind everybody, okay, back in the day, there was no automobiles. There was horse and buggy, okay, back in the day. Back in the day, women did not have the right to vote. Back in the day, everybody got married. Everybody had kids. There was no birth control. Back in the day, let's go farther back, there were no airplanes. You could not travel. So I think back then, people, only certain people, key people in our history, have made it possible for things to shift and change in the way that we consider to be normal. But I've talked about this before, where it's hard for people to imagine a future that looks different, very different than what we have now. And I feel like the best thing for people to do at this time is try to, I don't want to say think worst case scenario, but actually be like, what if Elizabeth is saying, okay, there's going to be this forced winter. And what if there is a forced winter? And what is that going to mean for me? What is that going to mean for my life and my family? What is that going to mean for my budget? What is that going to mean for my survival? What if there was 7 years of tribulation from, starting in May of 2025 and going all the way through, let's say, May of 2032. If there was 7 years of tribulation, what would that look like? 7 years of tribulation, in my mind, is a time of deep suffering, deep transformation, deep transformation, where people will realize where they went wrong. A kind of humility, a kind of growth. I do not feel things are going to stay the same the way we think of them. I have felt for some time that the chances of us being forced to stay in our house and not really be able to leave too much is quite a reality that could happen. Nobody's going to want it, but that doesn't change the events and stuff that lead up to that. So I think, like I said, I want to do a separate video for 7 years of tribulation. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do that. What I think that will look like. But even so, I feel like for some people, they don't want to think about how bad that could look like. How bad that could really be. They don't, and again, going back to this Piscean energy, Saturn entering Pisces, people are in some way not going to want to hear it. They're just not going to want to hear it. They don't want to think about that. They can't imagine it. They don't even want to like put that out there. And I don't blame anybody for like not seeing it, because I'm psychic, so I see things other people don't see. I guess my main point in trying to do this is kind of bring awareness to some of these astrological things that are going to be happening, that are going to be influencing the energy based on history, and based on my understanding of how it really wasn't until I put the pieces together with the North Node in Cancer. The North Node changed from out of the sign of Cancer in May of 2020. Like, that is no coincidence. Okay? That is no like, oh, the energy was just in the sign of Cancer. No. Like, if you've ever talked to a Cancer female does everything for their family. I've never met a Cancer female that wasn't focused on family. And anybody who has a North Node in Cancer, South Node in Cancer, has this issue with overly being focused on family or overly being focused on career. And what happened for my company in March of 2020, like I said, was everybody worked from home. Cancer, it's very difficult, specifically for people who have their South Node in Cancer, but I've seen it also for North Node in Cancer, for people to do things out with their career. I've met men with their North Node in Cancer who have a really difficult time in their career. Why? Because their South Node is in Capricorn, which is all about career. It's all about who you are out in the world, going out into the world and making something of yourself. Whereas the sign of Cancer is all about staying home, being focused on the family, having children, having a family. And I've met many Cancer females who are very like hyper career focused, which can happen too. I'm not saying that like, Cancer females are, they don't have jobs. I've met many who have jobs, but a lot of those jobs are working from home. A lot of those jobs are with children. A lot of those jobs are maybe even with a partner. So, these things in the astrology really point to, in my mind, it didn't click in until I saw the dates for when the North Node was in Cancer. I didn't, I'm not new to astrology, but I wasn't putting the pieces together, and I didn't really fully believe or grasp how important the astrology is, and how important the astrology is going to be with this North Node in Taurus going into this summer. So there's that. And then, of course, when the North Node changes into the sign of Aries, which, to me, it points toward directly. If you've never met somebody who had a North Node in Aries, the North Node in Aries is basically like a Sun in Aries person. Okay, the North Node in Taurus is like basically like a Taurus person. If people like want to talk about like their mission in life and who their life path and what they like are needing to learn in this life, I always tell them to look at their North Node, but also look at their sun sign, because the sun sign shows you, similar to the North Node, like your trajectory, your path. I was supposed to be looking at these cards, but somehow I got sidetracked. Okay, so let me see. We were looking at Saturn and Pisces. Okay, so we have the Six of Pentacles as the outcome. So this may come later in time. It's interesting. The Six of Pentacles originally was about resentment, but I started to see this as a card about spending money. And the funny thing about Pisces is that they run their businesses like charities. Some who have like maybe some strong Virgo, or they're very much in their Virgo shadow, or younger, maybe quite organized with their money and like know exactly where it's going and make little notes and like have a budget. But like, like the older Pisces, as Pisces matures, I feel like they get to a point where they're just like, whatever, I'm just going to buy what I want. Emotional purchases, kind of like emotional eating. There's going to be issues. I feel with people running out. The word is running out of money. This could also be within the government here too in the US, where the government says we are out of money. We have too many problems with debt, because we have the Seven of Wands with it. And the Seven of Wands is stress, is arguments, going back and forth. There may be problems at that time within the government, but there also may be problems with personal finances, but also I feel like finances within the US, within the country, but we could even say globally. I mean, Saturn is in Pisces, going into the sign of Pisces, and it will be there until the 2025. So this energy is going to be applicable to anybody who in the world. I've said this before. I said this in my last video, and this really, I want to emphasize this very clearly. Pisces is the old person, right? It's the person that dies, and it has to do with inheritance too, like what they leave behind. And it's funny, my guide was showing me, I think it was Daniel Craig, James Bond, right, who said that if he did things right, he wouldn't be leaving a massive amount of money to his children. He would be donating it. So there's something here about not having enough money, running out of money, overly spending money, not budgeting money. I wouldn't be surprised, going back to what I said about a new currency, because we have the Ace of Cups, and that's the drop of promise. That's the new. That's new money. So there might be something like old money versus new money at this time. Some of you that are watching may fall into the category of, maybe, spending your life savings, having to spend your life savings on something. Again, Pisces is the elderly person. So maybe spending your money on like a parent who needs to go into a home, and you're spending all of your life savings on that, or spending all of your savings on something that was unexpected. Some of you may be also in the camp of starting something new because you have to. Maybe like running out of money and being like, okay, well, how am I supposed to live? And maybe doing something different that you've never done before, starting something new. Especially when the North Node goes into the sign of Aries, because so that's July, because Aries is all about the new. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you started a new business, or you started like a new side hobby or side business, changing in jobs, changing in, it's funny, the change in the currency is coming through very, very strongly here. When I say change, I feel like the change in the currency is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of frustration and stress about that. I feel like there's people that are not going to be happy about that. I don't feel, okay, from what I see, I don't feel that it's actually as bad as maybe some people might think. I feel like there's going to be help because we have the Page of Swords, being helped out. We also have the Star, which is blessings. So there may be many blessings that actually come through for you personally during this time. I said this in one of my other videos too, and it's the same message and it's coming through again. Many blessings. And it's not just like, it's not just financial. But I do feel like people, like if some of you need help, I feel like there's going to be help to what, to maybe what you're doing. And support. I feel like there's going to be support in what you're doing. It's weird. Like for the outcome, I keep pulling cards about money. So, and the Ace of Pentacles, which is the cash card, it's interesting. This is actually, it's always interesting when I pull cards when I'm reading or for major things like this, because there's always things that come up that I've seen that validate like my visions and stuff, but then there's other things that I'm kind of not expecting. We have the Ace of Cups, Six of Cups. Ace of Cups is the beginning of the drop of promise of money to come. That you find a quarter on the ground and that's a good sign that maybe you're going to get a call back on a job, that there's a check in the mail, or that somebody's going to help you out financially. The Six of Cups, is kind of like a time of it's funny, of recovery. I think of it as recovery. I think of it as money trickling in, you making some money. It's not generally a lot of money, but it's enough to kind of keep you going. It's the side hobby, it's a side business, it's the thing that you do, like the gig worker, picking up gigs here and there, trying to piece together some sort of living, staying at home with a child, trying to make, maybe do like some side business. Many people work from home, they have kids and they do like things to, when the kids are like, at school or whatever, what have you during those down times, when they're sleeping or things like that. And then we have this Ace of Pentacles, which is the cash, which is all about cash. My words of caution is do not spend all of your cash. That's what I want to say. Like, you need to save some cash for a rainy day. And I feel like the Saturn entering Pisces, it's not a rainy day per se, because it's not like, I don't feel it from what I'm seeing in this spread, like doom. I don't feel that. But I did see, going back to what I said about the mushroom cloud, I did see potentials. Okay, there's potentials. One of the beautiful messages this is coming through for Saturn and Pisces is that you're going to be getting some wise counsel, very wise counsel. And this is actually beautiful because Pisces is an old person. So this is talking to somebody older and wiser. This is maybe taking care of yourself in a new way, making sure you're getting your teeth cleaned and you're getting your hair done and you're making sure you're going to your doctor's visits and getting your blood work done. This is taking care of yourself and, talking to someone who's a professional. So, you could be someone that is like works in a CPA office, or someone who's like a lawyer or a professional of some kind. And that's showing up here. I feel like business for many of you will be very successful during this time. More successful probably than you've seen in the past. And I don't know why. I can only say that from what I'm seeing here, and there's something to be had about getting good counsel, having good business. Even the Six of Cups, when it seems like money is not coming in, money will come in small amounts or unexpected amounts. It could be like small donations. It's interesting. Okay, so Pisces to me has to do also with loss. Okay. And if there's loss, I feel like it's going to do have to do with education in the schools. And I did say this before that I see schools kind of flip-flopping, closing and opening and closing and opening. I feel like many schools will close at this time. Many schools will close. So the issues that you might have where you might be forced, if you have children, to homeschool. Maybe it depends on your area, where you live. If there's schools available. Many schools will close. That's what I'm seeing here. Yeah. I feel like the schools closing is going to become a major issue during Saturn in Pisces. And I don't know why during this time that it is, but I feel like this is going to cause major issues later down the line. And what I said about the North Node in Taurus and things lasting, I feel like the schools that are closed are going to remain closed at some point. Like, I'm not saying all of them are going to close, but I did predict in the future, farther out, most of the schools that were going to remain open were going to be private schools and universities and colleges. And that's what it was going to be. So children were going to have to, there was going to be a lot more like homeschooling co-ops and like little, like kind of like micro schools. People, having a couple of kids come over to their house and doing like a little micro school, things like that. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to say. I do want to end here soon. Some of you are going to be working from home during this time. Some of you are going to be moving during this time. Some of you, there's something beautiful that's going to be happening. Okay, so we have the negative sides of Pisces and Saturn being really difficult and creating all this muck. But the beautiful things that come out of the muck are the lotus. It's the blossoming. There is some kind of blossoming that's going to be happening for you personally. I feel like during this time, a kind of blossoming which maybe you're not expecting. The lotus doesn't even really. I don't even think the lotus really fully understands what it's going through. That it lives in the muck. It blossoms anyways. So there's things that are going to be happening anyways. That are beautiful things. You may be having a very close connection with someone. I don't know. There's a card about a change of heart here, but it's also a card about blossoming. So like maybe starting some kind of new romance. Could be having like a very strong like heart-based connection with someone. Could be having a very harmonious relationship with someone, whoever that is. It doesn't even have to be. It could be guy, girl. It could be any situation, relationship. To me, it's harmony within like family, or harmony within like a romantic kind of relationship. Those of you, okay, I want to say something too here. Those of you who have gone through a lot, okay, so some of you may be like me, some of you may have had kind of like gone through the school of hard knocks. There is something here about having completed the karma. So like for many of you, this is actually going to be a really positive time if you have completed your karma. And there's a card here about that I wrote down what it kind of means to complete karma, and this is not the only definition, but this is like one of the things that I had written down, and it's I feel like it is it does have weight. Okay, I'll say so. One of the things is you've completed karma when you have released the struggle. Okay, and the struggle is when you are not able to get out of your own way. when you're limiting yourself based on your beliefs or based on situations that have happened in the past. Number two is when someone's detached with love from the negativity. In our culture, we can become addicted to negativity, to the drama, okay, to shit that's happening, the sob story, and yeah, to me, it's like, being addicted to negativity and letting go of anger and blame and bitterness. And that is part of that Pisces. Okay, so to me, Pisces is all about karma, right? So Pisces can have a lot of anger. They can be very, very angry people. Okay. There have been some Pisces that I've met, specifically males, but I've also met some Pisces females who have anger management problems where they are the person that will slam down the phone. Okay. They have a landline. But you know what I'm saying? They have serious problems with controlling their temper. They can become really, really enraged and angry. And for whatever reason, it's very odd because I think that some people don't even register that the Pisces is so angry. They don't even feel it. It's kind of like Pisces can get away with being angry more than any other sign. So there may be some stuff going on, at this time with people. I did say this in one of my other videos, people being very angry. Angry maybe at the government or angry at what has happened during the pandemic, maybe at what's going on with their work, the changes that are about to come into play. There's a thing about anger. So number three, this is the biggest. I feel like this is the biggest thing to work on, letting go of anger and blame and bitterness. The blame thing happens. It's so funny because when I say I blame someone, I'm always kind of joking. I'm never really serious. I don't really blame people in I would say the normal way. Maybe, but I think like I point things out. More so than like blaming. But there are people that very much do not forgive because they blame somebody for whatever they said, or they do not forgive because they blame another person for their actions. They don't really take responsibility for any of their actions. And a lot of people that do that can become very bitter and resentful. Resentment is something that I myself have to work on, and I'm trying to work on, but it's very difficult for me. But okay, and then number four is finding a way to be grateful. It's very, very easy for people to get wrapped up into their next purchase, their next car, their next, purse, or handbag, or, their next job, and not be really, truly ever stop and take a moment and be grateful. Not ever really stop and take a moment and say, I'm really blessed for all the things that I do have. We live in a very materialistic society where, the focus is very much on, has been very much on getting ahead and financial, increases so that we could get more, we could buy more, we could be more, all this stuff. And it's just, I think, and I have met people that have been very blessed, but they're very much focused on making more money so that they can buy more stuff. And it's just a thing where it'll come up where I'll say, the gratitude thing comes up. The gratitude thing comes up when a person is like borderline obsessed with the worldly stuff. And we can all do it. I've done it myself. We can all do it. So being grateful is part of this Piscean energy. Maybe writing down, even if it's once a week, that you're grateful. I started actually announcing my gratitude and reading out all of my gratitude notes. in my living room. I was like, okay, I'm just going to read this out loud for the universe. Anybody who wants to listen. And the funny thing is the energy really shifted once I did that. And I realized, and I'll say this because of the contrast. I realized that when I was doing that, I felt a certain peace, certain calm, a certain energy kind of come over me. And it was a beautiful thing. And then I realized also in the contrast of what I hadn't been doing. So and I don't know why we're just not taught it, or why we just, get really wrapped up in the material stuff. I grew up with, parents who were very material people. My dad, very much a material person. It's not to say that people aren't spiritual or aren't grateful. It's just that we aren't taught to take a moment to say out loud, I'm very blessed and very thankful and grateful for all that I have. It's very, like, some people aren't taught to speak things. They don't even think that it's important to speak those kind of words out loud. So I don't know. It's one of the things about completing karma. So to recap, completing the karma, you'll know that you've completed karma when you've released the struggle, detached with love from the negativity, let go of anger, blame, and bitterness, and found a way to be grateful despite whatever's going on. And then what happens is once you kind of get to this place where you've done those things, then you're like, oh, like everything that you do after that becomes a positive thing. Becomes like, oh, the road doesn't seem so hard any longer, basically. Because you're not complaining about the struggle. You're not bitching about whoever. You're not engaging in the negativity. You're not entrenched in materialism. You've overcome all of those things. And that's the Piscean energy, the beautiful Piscean energy that's going to be in play at this time. Specifically, especially towards, when the sun enters Pisces. So the sun is going to enter Pisces. I would say it's in play when the sun goes into this sign of Pisces. And that's going to be on February 18th. So let me see. Any last messages? This is funny. Okay, well, not funny, but interesting. So there's two cards that came out here. One that talks about pregnancy, and another that talks about blood sugar. And for some of you, you're going to need to work on your blood sugar in order to get pregnant. Number one. Number two, some of you, there is this sweetness that if you were to have a child, that your life would become much sweeter. And there may be a time for those of you, even if you don't have a child, where there's more grace in your life and more sweetness in your life. I feel like life is, for some of you, is going to be sweeter. That's what I want to say during this time. Much sweeter than what you're experiencing. But yeah, it's I feel like there is the unexpected pregnancy, and this came up in some of my other videos. For some of you, like, you might actually have a lot of things happen all at once, and that to me is the Pisces energy, where it's like the new job happens, the pregnancy happens, maybe getting, moving in with someone or getting married happens for some of you. This is not going to be with everybody. And the other thing is, somebody is coming up. There's this card about Valerian. It's coming up, and I actually haven't really experimented with taking valerian, which is just a relaxant that helps you sleep. There's valerian tea that you can take. But the message of this card is about sleep and rest. And some of you during this time may feel um that you need more sleep, that you're strangely tired, that you find yourself taking maybe more naps, or there's this kind of feeling of like, I don't know, like wanting to be more cozy, or wanting to stay home more, or mainly just needing to get more rest and sleep more. The Pisces is the elderly person who sleeps a lot. So I would not be surprised if when Saturn goes into the sign of Pisces, or even when the sun starts to enter Pisces, the people might feel during this time, again, that they're maybe more tired. I would say watch your stress levels. I would also say watch your diet and try to avoid eating a lot of sugar. The whole sweetness thing kind of indicates somebody whose their diet has a lot of sugar. The funny thing is there used to be, like when growing up, a little bowl of actual sugar on the table. Okay. And my dad used to put, a spoonful of sugar into his coffee every single day. And there are people that have their entire diets from the beginning of the day to the end of the day is full of sugar. From maybe putting a spoon of sugar in their morning coffee, or their morning drink, or their morning oatmeal, and then whatever they're eating. There are sugar cereals. There's all kinds of sugar cereals that people are eating, which has tons of sugar. If you're drinking any milk, has tons of sugar. And then of course there's like the afternoon cookies, and for dinner, you might have a normal dinner, but then after you might have some ice cream. So again, be very mindful at this time what's going on with your blood sugar, and watch how much actual sugar you're eating, but also watch foods that are high in sugar or that convert into sugar. So like potatoes, white rice, things like that. I think this is where I want to end. I want to check my chat just to make sure. I don't see any messages coming through from any of you. So I think I'm going to leave off there. I covered a lot in this reading. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed it, and hopefully I've touched upon some things that, you resonate with. And I hope that during this time, things are good for everybody. That's what I'm really hoping for anyways. So I send everyone big hugs, big kisses. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Please give me a thumbs up. Really helps my channel. Please donate. Any amount is really helpful. Really keeps me going. It's food in my table, gas in my tank, and helps me get car repairs that I need to get right now. So just many blessings to everyone, and I wish you guys the best. All right, take care. Bye.